People, I'm at a total loss for words at this point. The map creator released by Creative Assembly is one of the best things that's ever happened to the Total War series in terms of multiplayer and YouTube content. It is really buggy right now, and I'll address that in another video, but in the first few days, I've already gotten so much mileage out of Terry and played on so many incredible maps, and this one takes the cake. What we're seeing right now is, in my opinion, the best siege map in Total War Warhammer currently, and one of the best siege maps I've ever played in any Total War game, period. It has everything I want out of a unique settlement and a unique siege battle, and this is the second utterly insane replay I've gotten in as many days. Stick around, I promise you, this replay is glorious. Just take a look, take it all in, soak it all in right now. And the map is called the Siege of Talabheim by Benny MCL, just so happens to be my defensive partner in this siege, and we will be defending the Empire's home turf from 7,000 undead. Karl, Franz, Elector Count of Reichland, and Emperor of Mankind on Deathclaw, the Imperial Griffin, will be defending the mountain pass on this flank, and what a mountain pass it is, carving all the way through the impact crater to the vast forest outside, and leading directly to everybody's most hated vampire. You guessed it, Mannfred von Carstein. Thanks for Age of Sigmar, you douchebag. But the vamps have shown up in force here. They have a ton of air power in the form of zombie dragons, terrorgeists, vargeists, and other nightmares. And it is going to be quite a challenge defending against this many undead. Shifting back over to the center in the shadow of the gates of Talabheim and this gigantic impact crater the city is built on, we have a nasty kill box set up for the Zanganaz. Anything that enters in this area right here is going to get utterly obliterated by fire from artillery, from our steam tanks, from rows of handgunners on all flanks. It is a completely brutal checkpoint over there. And up here on the final side of my defense, the front line will be defending the mountain pass near the observatory with mortars, handgunners, flagellants, great swords, and a unit of demigryph knights with halberds to back them up. The undead are going to be streaming up this mountain pass very soon, but before we shift over and look at the Red Duke's army, let's go back and look at the reserves and the last line of defense. So, Volkmar the Grim, the Grand Theogonist of the Cult of Sigmar, and the most powerful religious leader in the Empire of Man, riding atop that glorious War Altar of Sigmar, flanked by his unbreakable Tattersouls and Sons of Sigmar, and the Royal Altdorf Griffites, all of which are from the Grim in the Grave DLC, which was based on the Sigmar's Blood tabletop campaign, and I have a nasty ambush in wait with a bunch of Knights of the Blazing Sun and the Empire Knights as well. So shifting back over, the mountain pass I'm defending is going to be the focal point of the Red Duke's early attacks, and that's why I brought a Lore of Shadows caster, because the Pit of Shades Vortex is hopefully going to be brutal against the undead in these choke points. But holding the line against all these terror-causing units from the vampires is going to be a serious problem. The Empire can have very severe mass routes going on when you've got a Terrorgeist or a Zombie Dragon landing in the back of your army, which is why I brought a very fluffy Flagellant core with Volkmar at the helm. It's pretty fluffy, as in it's a lore-friendly kind of army setup, but it's going to be very good against the Vamps because Flagellants are unbreakable. And I'm really going to need them to fight to the death because we are vastly outnumbered right now. But here come these shambling hordes of the undead, the spawn of the Red Duke with a Nightmare at the helm, the Klav Nagash Mortis engine. That thing is going to be brutal in the choke point as well because it's going to basically DOT all of our health points in a big AoE. Everything is going to get damaged over time as soon as it enters melee combat. It's got a very nice healing aura for all the zombies and the skeletons and the Cairn race that will be pouring into this breach, but it's also got the damage over time against enemies as well. Flagellants will be the first into melee. The first shambling hordes of zombies are making it into combat now, and the Flagellants are going to go to work, and this is exactly why I wanted them. They're going to be very good against low armor units, like the zombies. They'll be able to kill a bunch of them. They won't get feared, they won't get terrified, they're not going to run away from combat. That's going to be very important here. So, going to be throwing the Flagellants in first. They're not an expensive unit, I believe only 550 gold, but they will basically just tarp it and allow my mortar to fire over the cliff and hopefully do a crap load of damage as these hordes and hordes, these waves of von Carstein and Red Duke undead enter combat. But here come the Devils of Schwarzhofen. They cause terror. A normal greatsword or swordsman unit would maybe be running for the hills right now. But flagellants are crazy as hell, and they are going to stick in combat. Here comes the zombie dragon into my handgunners, who are in a very nice line of sight to fire in from above, and my demigryph knights. This is why I kept them in the back to protect and ward off any zombie dragons or Vargeist or any kind of large unit that swoops in and tries to deal with my handgunners. So the Red Duke's going to try to get the hell out of there, and I quickly realized after seeing the Claw of Nagash Mortis engine, I really need magic damage over here. So I'm going to be bringing up Volkmar, and he'll be sprinting up the cliff in his War Chariot, the War Altar of Sigmar, very soon. And my flagellants will hold the line very well here, of course. Claw of Nagash punching a hole through the center of the formation, committing the great swords now, and Mortar is still firing and doing quite a bit of damage. But here comes Volkmar the Grim. Now he does flaming attacks, and he does magic damage. The magic damage is going to be so important if I want to bring down this Claw of Nagash very quickly. And not to mention the fact that he also has Grand Soulfire, which also does magic damage in a big AoE. So he is actually a great choice in this instance against the vampire accounts, and with the ethereal units, the Karn race moving up as well. That's going to be very important to have him in combat to quickly bring down this monstrosity. If I don't take it down soon, this entire flank is going to crumble. I'm even going to cast Banishment, the Lore of Light Vortex. You don't get to see that very often, but in the very choke-pointy mountain pass we're in right now, going to do quite a bit of damage to the undead as they continue cycling into combat here. Did quite a bit of damage to some zombies and a Cairn Wraith unit as well. Now, this is a weird thing about Mortis engines that a lot of people don't know, but they aren't actually ethereal in Total War Warhammer. But Volkmar is still great for killing them because he hits really hard. He has a lot of mass on that War Altar and can actually push through units and chase down the good mobility of the Claw of Nagash pretty easily. But I'm also picking it apart from above with my handgunners, and more undead are pouring into melee. My flagellants are on their last legs, and my lines are going to break. So I need something to turn this fight in my favor, and enter the Lore of Shadows, my mage riding his trusty Royal Pegasus. And here comes the foe hammer, the Pit of Shades, in the middle of the zombie horde, and it is going to start obliterating this blob right now. The Grand Soulfire from Volkmar purifying the blight on Sigmar's land, and a whole lot of dead people from that Vortex spell. That was glorious. I love the Pit of Shades. It is so much fun to use in these kind of situations. And after it's all said and done, 147 undead souls banished to the Nether Realm. Eat your heart out, Quan Chi. He's going to cast a big Invocation of Nahek to keep his men in the fight, and they will continue pushing on strong, but he got a lot of kills there. That was really good for me. On this side, we have Karl Franz. He seems to be doing all right, but I'm not sure the Empire army is. Lot of zombies and skeletons and Knights of Bloodkeep streaming down from the mountainside. My god, that is an epic sight. And we've got Mannfred von Carstein on that terrifying zombie dragon as well, on Overwatch, and about to cast the Wind of Death. Jibbing an entire flank of flagellants here. My lord. That was Red Mist. That was glorious. This is a really nice Vortex spell right there. Killed a lot of flagellants, and the Empire is going to have a very hard time holding it down in melee here. There are so many undead troops pushing forward. Blood Dragons charging into the fray, not caring what they're slaying. They're just slaughtering everything, and Mannfred has yet another Vortex spell up his sleeve. In this very brutal mountain choke point, we've got the Purple Sun of Xerius about to go off on the exact same unit that he just hit. Sons of Sigmar and Flagellants about to get mollywopped by the Purple Sun. Put it in play here and see what it does. Slow motion, oh god. That is going to be a glorious Vortex. Very nice usage of it. Big blob of Empire troops, and it's gonna continue on and just jib a big portion of the Empire defenders over here. And with those two Vortex casts, Mannfred already well over 100 kills on unbreakable units. That's going to be a very big deal. And remember, with the Sword of Unholy Power, he's going to have a huge Winds of Magic pool to work with as well. Mortars are hammering the front line of the Knights of Bloodkeep, who've already slain dozens of Empire state troops. But towards the central plaza, we have Karl Franz and Deathclaw taking on a Terrorgeist who's been busy munching on some handgunners. But Galmaraz and the Imperial Griffin should be able to put a stop to that. Looks like it's crumbling right now. I think the Terrorgeist might be rethinking the idea that handgunners were going to be easy prey. And the first big kill of the game is going to go to Karl, Franz, and Gal Moraz. Very nice right there. Gunner's probably very happy he showed up when he did, or that could have gotten very, very messy for them. Now, fantastic move from our opponents here. In the background, Durin Sun springing an ambush with the Feasters in the Dusk Crypt Ghoul unit, who are going to run down an entire Hellblaster or Hellstorm Rocket Battery crew. Just slaughter them. They're getting mauled right now. And that was a Vanguard deployed Feasters in the Dusk Crypt Ghoul unit that ambushed from behind. That's a big deal. That's a lot of gold down the drain. Really nice move from our opponents there. But in the center, in what I call a Talabheim kill box, the main assault is underway. Crossbowmen, handgunners, mortars, and the steam tank all firing in and just slaughtering hundreds of undead troops as they move up through the gate. You see a lot of crumbling going on, but Karen Race and Vargul's inexorably pushing through. Don't know if we're going to have the firepower to hold it down there. We'll see soon enough. But over here, my defense is crumbling. The Red Duke on a zombie dragon landing in the middle of my handgunners, and there is nowhere for them to go. They are stuck between a rock and a dragon, and the dragon is unyielding, as is the rock. They are going to get jibbed and slaughtered by the Vargeist, the Devils of Schwarzhofen, by the zombie dragon, by everything that's up here. And I'm trying to protect them with my Demigryph Knights, but they're the only unit that is still in the fight. Everything else has become terrified and is now routing through the Cairn Race and the zombies that are pushing up to the top. And now the Demigryphs are terrified as well. They're running for the hills, and they have taken it. Up here, the observatory has fallen, and our first front line of defense has fallen to the vampire counts and to the undead of Mousillon. So now that the Red Duke has taken this, oh, it's just absolute carnage over here. Now that he's taken the observatory, he can look to push on towards our reinforcements in the back, where Volkmar the Grim is now chilling. I pulled him out of combat because I did not want to be losing him early on. I'm going to need him if we are to make it to the late game. Across the bridge and back towards the central plaza, we have more troops in reserve, but the front lines, the gate, it's just absolute carnage. I'm sending in my Knights of the Blazing Sun. The Knights of Mormidia and the handgunners are firing in from the flank. They've got a really nice line of sight to shoot into these Cairn Race and stuff as they pour through the breach in the gate. But Terrorgeist and a Vampire Lady in the center of a bunch of crossbowmen, handgunners, and Empire State troops. This is not where our range units want to be, and this is why the vampires are so threatening in these kind of siege situations. We have only so many melee troops to tie down something like a Terrorgeist or Vampire Lady, and the fact that they have so many, oh man, that guy just got brutalized, is really, really giving us a lot of trouble. We have some halberds over here, a few swordsmen, but not enough to protect all of our handgunners, who did a lot of damage in the Talabheim kill box, but I'm not sure it was enough. The vampires are definitely pushing through. Vargulf just murdering everything, and I need to get my steam tank out of there, or it's going to get surrounded and cut to pieces by all of the armor-piercing units that are now pushing through the breach. And on this side as well, this mountain pass has fallen. Karl Franz has retreated, and Mannfred von Carstein and his Blood Knights have pushed through and taken this first side of the engagement as well. The mountain pass has fallen. Demigryph Knights in the back dealt with the Crypt Ghouls very handily, and Volkmar and his Tatter Souls and Sons of Sigmar getting ready to reinforce the plaza if that will be needed. We still have some artillery Hellstorm rocket batteries in the back in the plaza, and God, just look at this map design. Isn't this beautiful? This is like, tell me this isn't what you love in siege battle. Like having choices to be able to ambush and to be able to plop troops in a plaza and get full cavalry charges and surround and destroy and retreat and reinforce. There's so many options on a map like this when there are mountain passes in multiple ways into the city. It just makes for incredible goddamn replays. And that's exactly what this has already been, and it's gonna get even crazier. So Vampire Lady and Terrorgeist still munching on these swordsmen and halberds. They really should be getting out of there at this point. No reason for them to be engaging halberds at the moment. But the Reichsguard over here getting ready to charge into the undead hordes of the von Carsteins. Empire State troops pulling back, and Karl Franz fighting the Devils of Schwarzhofen by himself. That is a tough engagement. should be able to do a lot of damage to them, but of course would probably be liking some help from the handgunners who are nearby. He'll be fighting those Devils of Schwarzhofen for now. The Empire State troops in the plaza, ready to receive the charge of the Undead, who will begin the second wave of their assault. Blood Knights charging through the trees into the front ranks of the Reichsguard. And the Reichsguard did not get their charge bonus off. This will give the Blood Knights an opportunity to just butcher them in close quarters combat, where the Knights of Bloodkeep just thrive. And the Reichsguard, and this is what I'm talking about, bringing fluffy armies, right? Reichsguard right next to Karl, Franz. And beautiful flanking charge coming in from the side from the Demigryph Knights with halberds. That might be enough to turn this fight in their favor. Reichsguard and the Demigryphs in the shadow of Karl, Franz, and Deathclaw fighting the Blood Knights to the death here. Handgunners opening up, Steam Tank opening up as well. And the stand of the Empire is now begun in the plaza. Steam Tank firing at Mannfred in the background. The remnants of the Devils of Schwarzhofen pulling away from Karl, Franz and ripping apart these handgunners in the back lines. No mercy for them. Their crimson will stain the ground. Their blood will just fountain everywhere. And those Vargeis are going to make short work of the ranged units in the back lines. Actually, those are crossbowmen. But Mannfred is getting ready to move up, and as we shift over towards the center, the Steam Tank and the artillery crews are fighting to the death here against Cairn Race, who have punched through the first defense at the gate and have made it all the way into the central plaza, backed up by a corpse cart with an unholy lodestone, regenerating all of these ethereal units. It's going to be a lot of regeneration for those ethereals, and the Red Duke and his Mousillon Undead have now made it to the farms in the back of Talabheim, and I'm pulling my Knights of the Blazing Sun from their ambush location, and we are going to try to get a surround off on the Undead army here. And this is a pivotal moment, what I've been planning to do since the beginning of the match. I didn't expect my defense at the observatory to hold. That's why I pulled Volkmar out of combat and back to the farms across the river. And the Red Duke doesn't know it, but his army is in a very precarious position right now, and I'm about to try and slam the steel jaws of my ambush shut on his army. He's fallen right into my trap, but can I execute it, or can he thwart it? Remember those Knights of the Blazing Sun and Empire Knights I had hidden in the woods? They're now springing their ambush. Here they come, and here comes my Lord of Shadows caster, who's returned as well, and more Knights of the Blazing Sun from across the river near the central plaza, sprinting across the farms, lances blazing with magical energy in the sunlight, and my flagellants about to enter melee combat. And you can see I have a perfect avenue of attack for all of my cavalry units, and at this point, in about 5 seconds, I've taken what looked to be a very tough melee engagement for both players and revealed a gigantic ambush that's already completely surrounded the Red Duke's army. Devils of Schwarzhofen landing in the middle of my Tattersouls, the War Altar of Sigmar pushing forward, Knights of the Blazing Sun roaring in from the flank, and just a gigantic charge into the side of these Graveguard units. Empire Knights following it up, charging into the Sternsmen, and the Grand Soulfire going off in the middle of the Cairn Race. Gonna do a lot of damage to them. Red Duke landing on the War Altar of Sigmar. Demigryph Knights pushing into combat. Knights of the Blazing Sun coming up with their rear charge here. And this was just beautiful. Magical attacks into the Cairn Race. And this is what I'm talking about. Being able to actually utilize tactics in siege battles. You cannot do anything remotely like what I just pulled off in the vanilla settlements in Total War Warhammer. I literally had the fuzziest feeling ever as I executed this ambush. This is what strategy games are all about. This is what Total War is all about. This is what the art of war is all about. I turned what looked to be an even engagement completely on its head in only a matter of seconds. The Red Duke completely surrounded, getting murdered by the War Altar of Sigmar and Volkmar the Grim and his hammers. Knights of the Blazing Sun completely surrounding the Red Duke, and this ambush, like if I do say so myself, was sexy as hell. It just obliterated the forces on this flank, and it would not have been possible without a gorgeously designed map like the Siege of Talabheim on the workshop. And this is less than a week after the damn thing released. I love this community, man. I love it. And the Red Duke is down, the zombie dragon is dead, and all the forces on this side of the river have been completely obliterated in only a matter of seconds. With that said, things are going much worse in other parts of the battlefield. We are losing very handily over here. Benny MCL is getting completely surrounded, cut off, and destroyed by the Vargeis. His handgunners getting murdered by the Vargulf. Karen Race slaughtering his swordsman in the center. And things are definitely starting to look a little bit grim in the center of Talabheim. Hopefully that's something I'll be able to rectify as I sprint across the bridge and get into the center, but I'm still a little bit away. Karl Franz is very low, and Benny's forces are crumbling. My steam tank is starting to make it over into combat, but Benny's steam tank over here, surrounded by Vargulfs and Cryptors, all of those armor piercing and also imbuing that poison into the steam tank, gonna make it very hard for that thing to run away. Reichsguard into combat, trying to survive, trying to keep the steam tank alive, but it is looking very, very grim. And now the Vampire Lady with the Lore of Shadows chasing down Karl Franz, and we've got a duel on our hands here, folks. We've got the Vampire Lady with Immortal Will and Karl Franz on Deathclaw with very low HP. She's regenerating a lot of health in this combat. Can Deathclaw and Karl Franz survive against the Vampire Lady? He's pulling away right now, and he's cycling back, and he will come back into combat and can't run away from a Vampire Lady anyway on the Hellsteed. And they're going to fight to the death. Both covered in each other's blood, which is probably exactly how a Lamian Vampire likes it. But he is very low, so is she. And Karl Franz hits like a truck. He might be able to win here. He has almost no HP left. This is so close. Who's going to win this duel? And with one final strike, Karl Franz will fall. Struck from his Griffin mount, plummeting to earth, slamming hard into the pavement, and the Emperor of Man is gone from this world in a manner eerily similar to his fall at the hands of Wallach Harkin and his zombie dragon in the lore. Deathclaw bites the dust as well, but the Lamian has been struck a mortal blow. She is crumbling after that fight. That was really close. That could have gone either way. Karl Franz just barely getting edged out by the Vampire Lady, who was almost full HP when she started that round of melee. But in sight of their fallen Emperor, the Empire State troops are breaking under the weight of the von Carstein assault, and there is a lot of routing. They could still go either way, but here comes the cavalry. Here comes Volkmar the Grim on his war altar. Here come the Tatter Souls to follow him wherever the hell he goes, and his sons of Sigmar, both unbreakable, and the Royal Altdorf Griffites. Demigriff Knights, Regiment of Renown, with halberds, back towards the town square to push back the Undead, and the Lore of Shadows caster on his Pegasus, leading the Knights of the Blazing Sun to the other bridge around the back of the Vampire army to hopefully pincer and surround the Undead in the plaza. Just an epic sight of an almost full-strength cavalry unit after that ambush, still going strong, still looking to punish the vampires for what they've done so far, to punish the fall of Karl Franz. But Volkmar the Grim getting ready to go in, and the steam tank is surrounded by the Cryptors and the Vargulf, not doing well against all that armor piercing, even Karen Race in there, all of them armor piercing. And with a couple final chugs here, in melee, trying to survive, it will explode, and that is a lot of gold, a lot of resources going down the drain. That is not a good thing to happen here in the late game. Steam tank going down, even the Empire State troops trying to make up for it, but it won't be enough. Crypt Ghouls, Crypt Horrors, and the Vargulf just murdering them in seconds. Over here, Volkmar has made it into combat with the other Mortis engine. Grand Soul Fire going off. And I'm going to have to commit all my melee troops here in one final desperate gambit to push the Undead out of Talabheim. This is going to be really rough, though. Reichsguard charging in from Benny. Mortis engine in there, not able to pull through because of the cavalry. This is important because the Reichsguard are completely tying down that Mortis engine, which is now getting shot to pieces by the handgunners, which are a very good counter to Mortis engines as well. Demigriff Knights of Royal Altdorf Griffites in a very nice position. Banishment going off from Volkmar the Grim. Vortex actually caused a lot of the Empire troops to rout there. Caused some fear in them, maybe. I'm not actually 100% sure. That might have just been the terror from the Mortis engine. I don't know if that banishment was actually good or not. That might have been a bad cast from me. But the War Altar of Sigmar going in now, and the Knights of the Blazing Sun and the Empire Knights and the Lore of Shadows caster have made it across the bridge around behind the Vampire army. And here comes the final stroke to hopefully turn this. If this cavalry attack fails, the game is over. The Vampires are going to take Talabheim from the Empire. It is still very even. Cryptors pouring into melee. Vargulf over here fighting the steam tank, as well as the Black Coach. And Lore of Shadows caster casting Pit of Shades on a lot of Cairn Race, Graveguard, and the remnants of the Vampire Count's army. Grand Soulfire going off as well, and that is a brutal combination against ethereal units. Vortex sucking them into the Netherrealm. Cryptors pouring into melee. Steam tank firing in and actually hitting a building there. Crossbows and handgunners doing damage. Mortis engine is crumbling. And with one last volley, that monstrosity might go down here and explode in the center of the Vampire Count's army. That's a big loss for the Vampires and a big win for Volkmar and the remainder of this Empire defense. Knights of the Blazing Sun streaming in from behind. Rear charge coming in into the back of the Cryptors. Steam tank making it into melee as well. Surrounding what is left of the von Carstein and the Mousillon armies. Volkmar in combat. Cryptors could do a lot of damage to him. They're armor piercing, but he does have damage mitigation. More Empire Knights streaming in from the back as the carnage is just unfolded in the center of Talabheim here. So many dead on both sides. Only a handful left for both armies. But the Knights have completely surrounded these Cryptors. The steam tank is bashing them into pieces, and they are crumbling. They are falling. And the Empire looks to be in the ascendancy. It seems like they have finally cracked the nut with these rear charges. Beautiful charges coming in from the Empire Knights and the Knights of the Blazing Sun. And these Cryptors are just completely disintegrating at this point. They will not be in melee for much longer, surrounded by the lances and the armor and the shining belief in Sigmar of these Knights. Steam tank going down finally as well. Both steam tanks, neither of them making it out of this brutal combat, but the Vampire Count's army has crumbled. The Empire's in the ascendancy, and they will take the field. Insane. Just an absolutely insane battle. And this is what custom maps can do for the game. This is the kind of creativity, the inspiration that I love to see in maps. When you have the ability to pull off the kind of tactics, as we look at this glorious golden statue of Sigmar Heldenhammer, have the ability to pull off those kind of tactics like ambushes and feints and withdrawals without being stuck in these super itty-bitty tight quarters all the time. When there's a shift from a big open plaza to a bridge across a river to a bunch of different geographical characteristics on a map, and you've got mountain passes with armies streaming in from those and the central gatehouse. There's just so much going on and so much fun. We get a good look at Karl, Franz, and Deathclaw, who fell at the end of this battle, but they did so much for the Empire. It just makes for incredibly epic replays. That's one of my favorite battles ever, and it's ridiculous that in 3 days, I've already gotten 2 of my favorite replays of any Total War game of all time. It's absolutely insane. This content is so good for the game, and it's going to be so good for my channel and Oakley's channel and Air's channel and all these people that enjoy these kind of cinematic replays. Pixelated Apollo, of course, a bunch of other YouTube content creators. It's amazing. I hope you guys enjoyed that one as much as I did as we look at the stats here. My Lore of Shadowcaster, 218 kills. My Mortar, almost 300. That is insane. And then on the other side, Mannfred and his Cryptors and the Devils of Schwarzhofen did really well. Give huge props to Benny MCL for making this map and playing with me. This is one of my favorite maps of all time. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Indie Pride signing out for now.